that in cruising flight, we have a circuit breaker pop out. What do you want to do in that case?
I believe you're allowed one reset for the breaker, and then if it pops again, you leave it alone.
Okay. What if we were to have an electrical fire?
On the inside?
Yep.
Then you would immediately turn off the master switch, turn off the cabin heat, and you would leave these open to ventilate, but you would turn off the cabin vent and the cabin heat, and deploy the fire extinguisher.
That's better. You want to close the heat and the air.
Oh, you want to close these two?
Yeah, you don't want to fan the flame.
Okay, so you just open them after you deploy the fire extinguisher.
That's right.
Okay.
Now, all the bold items in the POH are things you should have memorized for immediate action.
Right.
The rest of it you can just go to as you need to by pulling the checklist out.
Okay.
So yeah, fire in the cockpit, shut off the master switch, turn off the heat, the air, the vents, put the fire out, then ventilate the cabin.
Okay.
What if we were to have an engine fire in flight?
You would immediately pull the mixture full out, cut off the main fuel supply. I think that's it for the bold-faced items, isn't it?
Yeah, that should put the fire out. You could also turn off the magnetos, master switch, you know, fuel and electricity. All that stuff's routed through the engine compartment as well.
Right.
And if the fire doesn't go out, what do you do?
You put it into, I think in this one it recommends an 85 knot dive. If it doesn't blow out, it says to continue to speed up the dive until the flames go out.
Right. And while you're doing that, you'd be looking for a place to land.
Correct.
Okay.
Fields are preferred, I think. It says you can use roads, but honestly, I've been driving around for the last 2 weeks looking at roads.
Not going to do it.
Yeah,
Not around here.
they're full of wires and everything else.
So let's say that we're cruising along, and you notice the oil pressure gauge has dropped to 0, and the oil temperature is starting to get warmer. What does that mean?
It means we've had a oil pump failure.
And what's going to happen?
Motor's going to blow.
What if the oil pressure is 0, but the temperature remains normal?
It's a sensor malfunction.
Probably.
Probably.
Or it just hasn't started to warm up yet.
Yeah, right.
Alright. I have flight controls.
You have flight
I
controls.
have flight controls. So now we're going to talk about the engine failures. I'm going to demonstrate what I want you to do first. And we'll practice a lot of those. So the way that I'm going to simulate an engine failure is to retard the throttle to idle. I'm going to immediately turn the carburetor heat on. But I'm just going to go through the alphabet, the ABCs. A, airspeed, I'm going to pitch, trim for 60 knots, it's best glide speed.
Right.
B, I'm going to pick the best field, where do I want to land? Right down here beside this road and pond, there's a pretty straight field. There's a silo to the right of it. So I could be on final here, so what I'm going to do is maneuver myself so that I can land. Probably going that way. I'm probably going to turn here and land on the field.
Okay.
C.
Because you'll want to go into the wind as much as possible.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, with 3 knots, that's generally facing to the northwest. So C, I'm going to come to the cockpit checklist, check, make sure the fuel is turned on, the mixture is rich, the throttle would be in, the carb beat is on. Magnetos are on both. I can cycle left, right. If the prop is sitting still, start it. Check to make sure the master switch is on. Even though it has nothing to do with the engine running, it lets me use the flaps and radios. And the primer, I need to make sure is in and locked. After that, if it doesn't start, I'm going to declare an emergency on 121.5, squawk 7700, mayday, 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 Cessna 95300 is 10 miles south of Burlington. For the simulated engine failure, two souls on board. E, I'm going to explain to the passengers what's going on. I'm going to say, look, we're going to be landing off field. I need you to buckle up. Open your door. After we land, we're going to meet at that shed beside the silo. And then once I'm finally committed to a landing, I want to turn the fuel off, the mixture off, magnetos off. I want to leave the master switch on long enough to use the flaps. So what I'm going to do here is some S-turns on final, because I'm about 1,500 feet above the ground, and about 1.5 miles final, which is plenty of altitude. So what I need to do is just bleed that altitude off. At this point, I don't want to really turn away from the field because I have it in sight, and I don't want to risk coming up short. Right. I'll clear the throttle occasionally, make sure it's not a real failure. Then we practice these, we're not going to go any lower than 500 feet above the ground. So there's a little guy on a tractor out there, it looks like. We're going to land to, I'll probably land to the right of him so I can be in that tall green stuff and help slow me down. If I needed to, I could even slip the airplane. I could make more S-turns. But what I want to do is kind of aim for the edge of the field or right at the treetops so that by the time that I level off and flare, I won't hit those treetops and have the most field available to land in. Here's 500 AGL, we're going around. As you see, you've got plenty of time as long as you go through it methodically. You don't have to rush, but just go through the checklist. And it's about 4 minutes or so from the time the engine fails to when you actually touch down if you're at about 3,000 feet. Okay. All right, you have flight controls? I have flight controls? You have flight controls. Let's turn to the east, take us back to 3,000.